Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where we break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. And today we're doing Tottenham the Spurs against Newcastle. And the team came away victorious after going 1-0 down. And we'll look at this first goal here by the Spursy. A couple of things, though, we're going to talk about. First of all, we're looking at the ball going out wide here again, and no one's really got pressure on the ball again. Now, one thing in sports analytics, I don't know if you know this, because obviously, I don't know how much you watch my channel, but I have been coaching for over 20 odd years and doing lots of things in sports football, and doing things in sports analytics as well. I'm going more back into that world right now. But 50% of goals are scored without pressure on the ball. 50% of goals. So when I rag on it on the Premier League all the time, it's because there's a purpose behind it. There are statistics to say, okay, if you don't pressure the ball, chances are they're going to score a goal. There's a 50% chance they're going to score a goal. That's why it's so important that you make sure any of these wide areas like this, you have pressure on the ball, because inevitably players in the Premier League are quality and can pick out a decent pass or a cross no matter how bad their team is. So I'm not saying the Spurs are bad here, but I'm going to rag on their midfield in a minute. But so got possession here on the outside. And as we move this forward just a little bit, we can see that there's absolutely no pressure on the ball. And you can see the pocket of space that's appeared. Okay, that's where the danger area is going to end up being. But also, there's a nice 1v1 fight here. Now, I do rate Solanke as a striker. I do like him. He's one of these people, if you put more balls into the box, he's going to score more goals. He's absolutely great at just getting those little finishes. Is he ever going to be a 35-goal season man? No. Anywhere from 12 to 22 goals a season, yep. Consistently all the time, he's right there. Decent little striker. But let's just watch as this ball gets put in. As we saw a second ago on that last little thing I did, there was nobody here. That's because these two here and these two here basically stood, watched, and had a bit of a chat while support slowly came up. And that's the importance of putting pressure on the ball. It's so things like this don't happen. And you can see as well from the time lapse, unfortunately, I can't play it all in one go. I keep thinking of like doing it on Patreon and stuff like that, so I could just give it for free and just let everyone have a real sports analysis in real time. But I'm still yet to do that. These two were right next to each other. Now they're not. I quite like that though. He's sort of backing off a bit so he can get a run and attack the ball. That's not bad from the defender. Because of the time lapse, he's like, okay, we can back up a bit. We can see what's coming in and we can then deal with it. Solanke's a bit decent, and so's the delivery. This is what was the key, is the delivery. So when it flies in, he gets caught ever so slightly. Look, do you see? He's put his foot down to turn, and Solanke is already running. That means he's missed half a yard. That's all the difference is here. He's putting his foot down to turn instead of already being on the run straight in. And as he does, gets an extra little bit of space behind. Boom. Still gets there, though. He's still good enough to get there, battle him away, but Solanke just muscles him off just enough, and this is where he's really good. An old-fashioned striker, getting on things into the end of the box and just getting his team a goal. Yeah, not bad. But let's move on because we've got some Spursy things to talk about. So this is the Spursy trying to pass out at the back, right? And one of the things you might want to know about Newcastle is they've got a pretty decent midfield. So me saying a pretty decent midfield, everyone else would be saying they're much, much better. So if you took like Arsenal's or Liverpool's midfield, you'd probably say Newcastle's is probably coming up next. They're in the top, definitely in the top 5 in the Premier League, if not in the top 3 centre midfielders in the Premier League for having power and pace and being able to press you hard. So the last thing you want to do is try to pass through a Newcastle midfield, because you're going to get done, right? The smartest play to do against Newcastle is basically pretend that you don't have a midfield and go over them or round them, because if you try to go through them, you're gonna get done. And here they think it's a handball and all that nonsense, which I'll cover in a second, but the fact that you're trying to pass through a Newcastle midfield really makes me go, right mate, really? You're just waiting to lose the game. They're going to get you. They're going to pick you off. You just don't want to be doing that. Maybe in the second half when they're a little bit tired and they're not all enthusiastic and ready to rip the ball off you. But no, that's what Spursy decide to do. So as you can see, they've passed the ball into here. Newcastle's midfield's doing a great job pressuring the ball. They're putting a little ball in behind here into the space. You can see the pocket of space that's opened up, right? But that's kind of their plan. They've got their next player coming in now to be pressuring and making sure that this ball doesn't go any further. And that's exactly what he does. And he's right there. So here's the other thing, right? This guy's made the wrong decision. Instead of just running with the ball out wide here, he panics. because he's got to pass the ball. Instead of just running with the ball and running into the open space, he tries to knock it past the Newcastle player, which was never on as a pass, instead of just playing football. And the reason is he can't identify the space, or he's been told he's not allowed to run into the space, which is insane. Either way, the fact that this player is trying to knock the ball past the Newcastle pressuring player instead of just running with it is nuts. I will cover the handball on the way up to the goal because it's not a handball. Where's he supposed to put his hands? Does he gain an advantage from it? Yeah, he does. Yeah. It's football. Sometimes you get an advantage for it hitting your hand when your hand's down by your side. Yeah, he's not moving his hand towards the ball. There used to be this old ball to hand or, hand to ball and all that sort of rubbish. He's not moving his hand towards the ball. The ball has hit his hand. Maybe you should have run into the space and this wouldn't have happened in the first place. Maybe that should have been, that is the play. But no, that's not a handball. Never has been. Don't know even why they were even looking at it, to be honest. But let's just move on. The moment they've lost the ball and the ball's just going on that transition, pretty much Spurs are done. And that's one of the biggest problems that they have on their team. At any moment they lose the ball when they're trying to play it out the back. They have no real cover. There is no real structure there. And I know Postecoglou's all about that. It's just the way he is and all that rubbish. But I'm telling you, it's going to end up costing him his job if he keeps doing this. It's just not acceptable. You can't do this because you just will keep getting punished and punished and punished. And what happens as well as with your team morale is when you're doing it right for so long and you're doing okay. In, last season, they were at the top of the Prem for the first sort of 10 games or whatever it was. All of that belief now goes away with the more losses that you take. It's like you filled the bucket up with wins and then you start getting rid of that with losses. Now, this is how it works as well. You need 2 wins, right, in the bucket to advocate 1 loss. So if your system, if you've done it 10 times, right, okay, that means you can basically, in 8 wins, it's gone. Sorry, 8 losses, it's gone. No one's believing you anymore. You have to keep putting the wins up to get into that bucket. But remember, every loss counts as 2 and you're going to go further down. So you have to get more wins, and he's not. And it's just losing the morale of the team. And by the way, that analogy will be in one of my coaching sessions. I'm going to explain a lot more in depth of how the psychology of people work and the more times you tell someone no compared to yes and how all of that functions, especially in sports. So be on the lookout for that. But as we move, the ball's gone out wide. And he's out here. Gordon's got a bit of talent. He's all right. He's not great. He's good. He's not great. But you don't want him having the ball 1v1 out here in the box because he's just going to do this. Takes a little touch and then just fires it into that box. All because one player decided to try to poke it past the pressure in midfielder, which you shouldn't be trying to go through the Newcastle midfield anyway, because he couldn't identify the space that he could have just run into. And then from that moment on, what do you think Newcastle are going to do? They're going to keep coming at you. I'm going to show you this little play here from Newcastle because it's almost a carbon copy of the goal where the ball's gone straight up here, up into the middle of the field, straight into the middle of the heart of Newcastle's midfield, which you don't want the ball to be playing. And lo and behold, they nick the ball back and then they go straight down the other end. And this time he doesn't score. I think he just knocks it wide. But it's the exact same problem, the exact same thing. You've just got done and then you keep doing the same mistake. You're lucky you'd only got done once or twice doing this. Okay, I want you to have a little look at this as we pick up the action. We're looking at, we've got 3 Spursy and we've got 1 Toon. This guy right here needs to stop this cross. That's all his job is to do, right? That's his job. Stop the cross. Okay. Can he win the ball? That's a secondary thing, right? Stop the cross, right? Make him go backwards, win the ball. That's kind of what he's looking to try to do. When the ball goes out wide, you're going, right, okay, bump, there he goes. He stops. Is he close enough? So how's he stopping the cross? He's got 2 things to worry about. Right? Is there an overlapping player coming behind him to put the ball in there? Okay. Or is this space too great here? So if you look at his footwork and if you look at the way he stood, he can't actually move because his feet are too close together, right? So if this guy right here decides to go, if he notices as soon as he's stopping, think of that stopping motion. You know, when you're running and you're stopping. As you're stopping, as you're doing that, the other player can just skip past you because you can't change your momentum. So that's what's happening right here. He's stuttering, slowing down his momentum. But it gets worse. What ends up happening is the Toon player goes, "No, mate, I'll let you get your body shape back. I'll let you get set. I'll let you put your 2 feet there. I'm not going to beat you when you're coming in and you're over pressuring, and I'm not going to skip round you and do it. I'm going to sit and wait. I'm going to let you get set, and then I'm going to beat you." That is just awful. And not only has he just done that to him, what he's also done is he's let him get goal side of him while he is a little bit further away. Can you see the difference? His feet are kind of that way and his feet are kind of that way. I've over-exaggerated just a little bit to show you. So he's actually let the defender get goal side of him even more, which he shouldn't have done. Now all of a sudden he just goes bump straight. What? So if you're looking at this from a defensive point of view, that's player A, that's player B, right? So there's the line of scrimmage in between the two. What this guy's done is put the ball just out there on the line of scrimmage. Let me do it a little bit more so you can see it where I mean on here. So there's the one, there's the other. There'd be the line of scrimmage. He puts the ball back over here where he can't get to because he's not anticipating that this is the dangerous space and making that extra yard because he's gone this way instead of this way so he can put the cross in. By the way, I feel sorry for this central defender as well. I'm going to talk about that. Hold on a second. So as the ball comes across here, bump, central defender does everything right to poke the ball around the corner. But what he doesn't realise is Isaac, I can never say his name right, Isaac, that's it, I think Isaac, is there, he just kicks it into the net box. Yeah. When you're doing this defensive cover right and your defender behind you isn't really marking, and remember, you don't defend the player behind you, you defend the player in front of you. That's somebody else's job right there when this ball comes across. You've touched the ball, done the right thing. Isaac just gets his little finish. Great. Off he goes for a celebration. 120 million. Overpriced because they don't want to lose him. Is he a good 85, 95 million pound striker? In my opinion, yes, he is. But other than that, I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.